All right, everyone, welcome back to the Midwest Mountaineering Outdoor Adventure Expo. With me here virtually, I have Chris Knopf of Friends of the Boundary Waters, and they're presenting on Two Mines, One Threat: Updates in the Fight to Stop Sulfide Mining in Minnesota. It's a very important presentation. I think we've had you guys present on this a couple times, and this is sure to be a great update. There's obviously a lot of interest in protecting the boundary waters, and I know you guys are doing a lot of great work. So without further ado, take it a great way, Chris.
Great. Thank you, Adon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for Midwest Mountaineering for all that you do to spread the love of the outdoors and knowledge of enjoying the outdoors and protecting the outdoors. So thank you so much. As we emerge from this pandemic, I look forward to us all getting together and enjoying the outdoors and being at Midwest Mountaineering in person here. Again, I'm Chris Knopf, Executive Director of Friends of the Boundary Waters Wilderness. Friends of the Boundary Waters Wilderness was founded over 40 years ago to help establish the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. And for over 40 years, we have been the leader in protecting the boundary waters and the wilderness of the greater Quetico Superior ecosystem that extends from Canada to Lake Superior. And we're a membership-based organization, and the strength of our organization is individuals. So people just as yourself are really the foundation and bedrock of our organization, and it's your passion for the boundary waters and for Lake Superior that really drives us. So we recognize that and are hugely grateful for that. What I'll do is I will give a little bit of background about Friends of the Boundary Waters Wilderness and set up the fights that we have here to protect Minnesota from sulfide mining. As you may have seen, just this past Wednesday, 2 days ago, there was a landmark decision by the Minnesota Supreme Court where we received a huge victory in our fight to stop PolyMet. PolyMet is one of those two proposed copper sulfide mines. Twin Metals is the other one, and we're fighting both. So there's two mines, one threat. The common threat is acid mine drainage, which is the sulfuric acid that's generated as part of this type of mining. So a bit about our vision to start off here. At Friends of the Boundary Waters Wilderness, our vision brings together the wilderness people and community. So our vision is that that the wilderness areas, this beautiful Boundary Waters Wilderness is permanently protected, and that people of all backgrounds have the opportunity to enjoy it. And the communities that are gateways to the boundary waters, Ely, Grand Marais, the North Shore, support protection of the boundary waters, and that they are thriving and prosperous. So this vision brings wilderness people and community all together here. And for the wilderness, as I mentioned, that our advocacy work is focused on right now on stopping copper sulfide mining. We have been throughout our 40 years been in the fight to protect the boundary waters from excessive and inappropriate timber harvest, from airplane flyovers that impact the wilderness quality of the boundary waters, acid rain that impacts the water quality of the lakes and the boundary waters. And so we have been in the fight to protect the wilderness for over 40 years, and we'll continue to do that for the next 40 years. And for people, we have our No Boundaries to the Boundary Waters program, where we work to remove barriers that prevent people of diverse backgrounds from accessing this beautiful area. And so we have three ways in which we break down those barriers. First is that we have education programs, classroom education programs across Minnesota to get into classrooms to let students students of all backgrounds know about the boundary waters. In the wake of the COVID pandemic, we've developed online resources that you can access at our website for teachers and parents to use that are engaging in. So it's not just students at the computer, but where they can take those online lessons and then go outdoors in where they live and then connect it to the boundary waters. And finally, we have scholarships to provide scholarships for young people of diverse backgrounds and from diverse communities to get into the boundary waters. And so we have done this for nearly 20 years, and we're now expanding that program. And so if you are interested in that program, please send me an email and I can put you in touch with our team here, and we can help provide access to the boundary waters. So no boundaries to the boundary waters, we connect people to the boundary waters. And then finally, we understand that we are social creatures and that we live in communities, and that the polarity that is in Ely and other gateway communities to the boundary waters is really a problem. And so we support thriving gateway communities. We have a community coordinator based in Ely. Among the things that we've done is we've supported, for example, a series of films at the Ely State Theater as a way of providing investment in the community. And then we are also support this legislation that was been introduced here in Minnesota to provide expanded broadband internet service throughout greater Minnesota. We understand that these sort of investments like expanded broadband service, make those communities more prosperous, more competitive, and it will make it so that they can thrive without being reliant on the dangers of toxic sulfide mining. So we support this legislation that's going through the Minnesota legislature now to expand rural broadband service. So it's kind of an interesting way of kind of providing environmental protection is by supporting these initiatives that make communities less reliant on extractive industries. And so I think all this just gives you the orientation. I imagine most, if not all of you know where the boundary waters is, but it's this 1.1 million acres of wilderness area within the Superior National Forest in northeast Minnesota along the Canadian border. And it is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And so this is why we are protected. It is for these scenes and connecting it throughout the year, whether the spring, summer, fall, and winter camping experiences in the boundary waters. So it brings together people. These are our scenes from the wild. And so this is, it's important for us to recognize that we stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. And as I mentioned, that we were founded to help create the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. And Bud Heinzelman here, who was with the U.S. Forest Service and left the U.S. Forest Service to help lead the fight, really faced incredible opposition. And it is their courage and vision that really have propelled us to where we are today. So today we're at the forefront of stopping sulfide mining here in Minnesota. And here are the two proposed mines. This map gives you a sense of the two proposed mines that are the current threats. There are more mines on the way that threaten Minnesota, but Twin Metals is just south of Ely. It's about 9 miles south of Ely. That's where that yellow dot is. PolyMet is about 10 miles southwest, closer to Babbitt there. And so the Twin Metals mine is in the Rainy River watershed, the Boundary Waters watershed, and the PolyMet mine straddles the two watersheds, but it's primarily in the St. Louis River watershed, the Lake Superior watershed. So this gives you an orientation and the path of pollution for these two mines here. And this gives you the contamination path that Twin Metals would follow. So the red is the proposed Twin Metals mine right along the South Cowish River, right at the edge of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. That little red tail that you see there, that's the proposed electric corridors to provide power to Twin Meadows, and it would flow northward through White Iron Lake, Farm, Fall, and lakes into the Boundary Waters there. So that's that path of pollution, and then along the Canadian boundary, along the Quetico Provincial Park boundary in Canada there. And so what is the problem? What's different here? Well, this is a different type of mining. And so this is what's different than taconite mining. The ore in that we would be exposed here has sulfide in it. And so the copper that's in the rock is bound up with sulfide. And so right now is inert. It's within the rock formation. But when you open it up and expose it, it creates sulfuric acid. So the sulfide combines with oxygen and water in the air and the surface waters to create sulfuric acid. And so that's what's different. That's what's different from iron or taconite mining. So this is not your grandfather's type of mining or your father's type of mining. This is a different and much more dangerous, toxic sort of mining. And then to understand what we're talking about here, this is not copper that you see on the left here. This is not where you have native copper, a rich vein of copper. It's what you have on the right here, where the copper is disseminated throughout the rock formation. And so the copper is not like 50% of the rock formation or 25% of the rock formation or 10 or even 1%. It's about 0.4%. So what that means is you have lots and lots of waste. You have over 99% waste from this type of mining. So it's a huge engineering challenge here because of the amount of waste that's generated. And I wonder, sometimes you'll hear this, that the PolyMet say, oh, this is like an industrial site. That's simply not true. It is true that there's a former LTV processing plant on part of it, but the site is much, much larger, and it actually impacts a really rich ecological area that was historically known as a 100-mile swamp that is rich in peat bogs that you see here. So it's a huge carbon sink that you have in these wetlands and in this riparian corridor here that feeds into the St. Louis River. And so here's a map to give you a sense of what PolyMet is. So on the right-hand side is the proposed pit. And then on the left-hand side is the area, what they're calling the plant site. That's where you would have a 900-acre lake of toxic mining waste. And so that lake would be held back by an earthen dam created from the tailings waste. And it would have to, it would be as tall as the Statue of Liberty, and it would have to last for hundreds and hundreds of years. And as I showed in that previous picture of the PolyMet site, this would be the largest permitted destruction of wetlands in Minnesota history. You would directly destroy about 1,000 acres of wetlands, and then you would indirectly destroy about another 7,000 acres. So when you create this pit, you create a vacuum and you de-water that rich wetland environment around it. So it has a climate change impact because you destroy the carbon sink. You destroy the wetlands here, and you're creating a house of cards here with this earthen dam that has to hold back toxic wastewater for centuries. And downstream from PolyMet is the Fond du Lac Reservation, and these are the wild rice beds that are part of the Fond du Lac Reservation, and these would be directly impacted through that sulfuric acid contamination. These wild rice beds are extremely sensitive to sulfate, and these would be destroyed. Additionally, as that happens, there's elemental mercury that's inert right now, but is released when the sulfate gets into these wetland environments. So what you have is this mercury becomes methyl mercury and gets into the environment and gets into the food chain. And so this area of the state already has the highest level of mercury contamination in infants and young children. It exacerbates that problem by taking this inert mercury and putting it into the environment, into the food chain that affects human health. So this is the Twin Metal site. It is a beautiful, beautiful site. This is along Birch Lake when I was paddling by it. And so you have this beautiful shoreline along that. And this is what Twin Metals would do. So so the area where I was paddling was in kind of the upper left-hand corner of this map here. So what Twin Metals would do is they would create a mountain of waste. It's called the filter tailings waste. And so they would actually have to try to hold back water as part of this mountain here, and they in a very misleading way. And you can see it. This is their map. They call it a dry stack facility, but it is not dry. It is not dry by any sort of the means. And if you build sand castles at the beach, you know if the sand is too dry, it falls apart. Same thing here with this so-called dry stack, is that it has to have moisture as part of it, and so optimally around 15% moisture to maintain its structural integrity. But what you have here is you have rain and snow and other precipitation events. It's a huge issue to try to maintain the appropriate balance. And there's an 18% probability of an uncontrolled discharge of untreated mine water into Birch Lake here over the 20-year life of the mine here. So again, this is a house of cards here. Unlike PolyMet, Twin Metals would be primarily an underground mine that would go underneath Birch Lake, underneath the South Hoisheri River here. But you still, that there's still this catastrophic threat to the environment posed by Twin Metals here. And then you have to look at, well, who are the players here? So if you have this really risky sort of business, what kind of folks are you dealing with here? And Twin Metals is owned by Antofagasta, a Chilean mining conglomerate. PolyMet is owned by Glencore, an international mining conglomerate based in Switzerland. And both have disgraceful environmental, human rights, and worker rights violations across the globe here. And Antofagasta has, within its home country of Chile, has used corrupt practices to try to influence the government there. And as an example of how they operate, when President Trump was elected in November of 2016, within a month of that election, the family that owns Antofagasta had bought a mansion in Washington, D.C., and rented it out to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner as a way of trying to ingratiate themselves with the then Trump administration. And Glencore was founded by this gentleman here, Mark Ridge, who fled the United States and was a fugitive from justice because he had been dealing with the Ayatollah of Iran and apartheid South Africa in violation of U.S. laws. So he's a fugitive from the laws of our country. And that sort of DNA is built into how Glencore operates right now. And right now they're under investigation for child labor abuses in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and in the UK for having officials there literally traveling the globe with suitcases full of money to bribe officials across the globe. I want to talk a bit about the permitting process here, because there's the assertion that Minnesota has these great environmental laws and is protective of the environment. That is simply not the case. That is absolutely not the case here. And just over a week ago, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Inspector General issued a bombshell report that documented the collusion of the top officials at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency with our officials at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Among the things that they did here, with respect to PolyMet, PolyMet needs several different types of permits in order to operate, all of which are currently suspended, one of which is a wastewater permit. And so and here in Minnesota, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is the primary agency for issuing that wastewater permit, but that permit was reviewed by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And the top scientists there wrote a detailed letter enumerating 24 violations of the Clean Water Act and that draft wastewater permit to be issued by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. But the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency official said, hey, do not send that letter to us. We do not want to have that in writing. And the top officials at the Environmental Protection Agency said, hey, EPA scientists, do not send that letter. We don't want it in writing. And so what happened was that scientist was very insistent, and he had a phone call, and this is in the spring of 2018, where he read it over the phone. And so he kind of gave breadcrumbs and wrote this handwritten note on the letter saying that this information underlined in the attachment to this letter with all these violations was conveyed verbally to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on April 5th, 2018. And so this Inspector General report that came out just over a week ago, it stated that this was a violation of the regular procedures of the Environmental Protection Agency, and that in the final permit, this final wastewater permit issued by the Pollution Control Agency, not all those violations had been addressed. And so, so this is truly a rigged permitting process, and don't let folks tell you that, hey, Minnesota has these great laws that are protective of the environment, and that is simply not the case. And this is a specific example that underscores that point. And the other point to this is that this is really set up in a way to transfer the risk onto Minnesota taxpayers. So this is the way of privatizing the profits and socializing the costs. So PolyMet is a big, if you want to look at socialists, PolyMet and Glencore are big socialists because they want the risk on the public and not on themselves. And so this just shows you what the risk is to taxpayers if everything goes right. So at the beginning, there's a $75 million cleanup because they have to clean up the contamination on the PolyMet site that was left over from LTV, a steel operator that had operations on that. And as soon as they break ground, the liability jumps up to $588 million as they expose this rock, and that has the risk of reacting and creating that toxic sulfuric acid wastewater. As that pit gets bigger, you can see that in year 11, that at the bottom, those are the years of operating of the mine. At year 11 there, the risk of at that point for filling in that mine pit and reclaiming the land is over $1 billion. And so those are dollars on the vertical axis. And so that 1,039 million, that's $1.039 billion. And then finally in year 23, the cost of monitoring the wastewater discharges for the next century or 2 centuries has been estimated by PolyMet and DNR to be $580 million. But what you have there, that's the sort of financial cost, but the actual cash that PolyMet and its would be putting into to deal with this is shown in green. So what you see there is that for the first 9 years of operation, there's very little cash out there. So if something happened, what you would be dealing with is this gap between that green and that all that orange. That is what would be what the Minnesota taxpayers would have to deal with. So you're basically dealing at the greatest exposure here of about $1 billion in liability, and so so they're socializing the costs and putting it at the risk on Minnesota taxpayers. If something catastrophic happened, it could be multiples of this. And so an example of a catastrophic dam failure, similar to the dam proposed for PolyMet, it happened in this disaster in Brazil, the Brumadinho mine disaster, just over 2 years ago. And I'll play you now a clip of what happened there. So you can see where that type of technology is really a house of cards. So what the way it's designed there, the mine can fail catastrophically very quickly, and that technique is now banned in Brazil and three other countries now in South America. But we're going to use that technology here. So we've been fighting this in court. So we've been fighting these two mines in court, PolyMet and twin metals, on a number of different fronts here. And this is the landmark decision that just came down 2 years ago. And so 2 days ago. So it was a huge victory for us. And here were the challenges. So we were in court challenging the permit to mine, and then the dam safety permits for PolyMet here. And so the court made two important decisions here. So the permit to mine for PolyMet, if you were to pull out your driver's license, you would see where your driver's license, lasts for a period of time and you have to renew it on your birthday. For PolyMet, they did not have an end date on the permit. Would the permit end in 2072, or would it end in 2020, 72? 250 years out. There was not an end date in it, and so our DNR responsible. That's the agency responsible for issuing the permit to mine, gave them a forever permit. And what the Minnesota Supreme Court said 2 days ago, they said, no, you cannot grant a forever permit. You must have a term limit, and a term limit means something on the calendar, just like your driver's license. And so the court sent it back to the Department of Natural Resources and said, you have to start over with the permit to mine there. That's the first step for having one of these facilities. And so that was shot down. And so PolyMet cannot put a shovel in the ground there. The other important aspect of the decision was this, that the Supreme Court put a pause button on PolyMet and DNR trying to build the airplane while flying. And here's what they were doing on this. So you have this toxic lake of 900 acres of wastewater. And what PolyMet was trying to do is prevent the rock underneath that water from reacting with that water and creating sulfuric acid. And so they were, PolyMet had said they're going to use this technique called bentonite to prevent that the sulfide in the rock from reacting with the water.
Hey, Chris.
So, yes.
I've got a quick question that just came in. I think impact or is regard to this slide you have up. Someone's asking what the new court decision, how that will change your strategy and focus in fighting the mines.
Great. Thank you. It certainly gives us a huge momentum to that, and really exposes the problems in the regulatory process. So what we will have coming up here, the Department of Natural Resources will have to go through the whole process for issuing the permit. So this will become a public process where we'll have to be able to challenge that. We'll also have this administrative trial to challenge the fact that they were trying to sort of build the airplane while flying, and it'll be very expensive for us to have our experts to show the problems with the technology that they propose to prevent this acid mine drainage. The other part of it is the sort of legislative and political fight to that, is that this is not just we have three branches of government, and our legislative branch and our executive branch, that's Governor Walz and the Minnesota legislature, really need to step up to the plate. The court system is working here, the process is working, but the governor and the DNR, the governor and the Minnesota legislature need to do their job now as well. And so I'll talk a little bit about it. And this is where you as citizens can help us, is that we have a legislative strategy to promote a prove it first law. And I'll talk a little bit about that more, but it will kind of, it shows the importance of having a multi-pronged attack for our advocacy here. And we'll also need the citizens for helping. You are really essential to it. Really, the court system, I mean, this is a huge landmark victory for us, but we need to change the hearts and minds of people. And right now we have nearly 60% of Minnesotans are on our side here, and we need those people to communicate with the elected officials, Governor Walz and the Minnesota legislature, saying, hey, no to PolyMet, no to twin metals. And I want to let you know that we have more lawsuits to stop PolyMet. In federal court, we're challenging the wetlands destruction permit and the air pollution permit and that wastewater pollution permit that I talked about earlier, where the system was rigged. So we have, multiple lawsuits that are still in the pipeline here. And we're also in federal court stopping twin metals. And so in twin metals, it's a different type of battle. There we're challenging the illegal reinstatement and renewal of the expired mineral leases that twin metals had. So twin metals is not nearly as far along as PolyMet. We've been fighting PolyMet for about 15 years here, and twin metals if we can win the battle here in federal court, we won't even get to the permitting phase because we'll stop the illegal reinstatement and renewal of the expired mineral leases there. And this is where we now can turn to the legislative strategy here, and this is called the Prove It First bill, and it's a very, very simple, common sense law. I mean, with sort of sometimes when my kids were younger, they would ask very simple questions, and like why. In this case, we're asking a simple question. Well, can you prove that it's been done safely elsewhere? And so, if these mining companies, PolyMet and Twin Metals, cannot prove that sulfide mining has been done safely elsewhere in the United States, then we shouldn't do it here. That our elected officials, Governor Walz and our state senators and state representatives should not let Minnesota, our waters, be a guinea pig. And Wisconsin had this law for about 20 years until then Governor Scott Walker led to its repeal. It worked in Wisconsin, and we've modeled this Prove It First bill on that Wisconsin law. And so we need you to connect with your elected officials and ask that they support passing a Prove It First bill that will stop twin metals, will stop PolyMet here in Minnesota. And we have lots of organizations that are part of this Prove It First coalition, and we're proud to help lead the effort. But it's a collaborative effort with lots and lots of different organizations and businesses now. And if you're part of an organization, we want or your business, we would love to have you join this Prove It First coalition. And we have lots of legislative supporters of it, almost 60 in the Minnesota legislature. But the problem is that the leadership of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party is not letting a hearing in the House on it, and the Republican leadership is not allowing a hearing on the Prove It First bill in the Minnesota legislature. So we've been clamped down, and so we really, really need your help. And at the federal level, Betty McCollum has a bill that would protect the boundary waters. It does not stop PolyMet, but it's a hugely important step to protect the boundary waters from twin metals. And so we're very supportive of Betty McCollum's bill, and we're cautiously optimistic. The Biden administration is very well informed on these issues, and the transition team was very well informed about our lawsuits to stop twin metals, and we're hopeful that they'll take action to protect the boundary waters from twin metals. And the other part of the strategy is to do political work. And we have an affiliate that can do political work. And in advance of the November elections, we were running ads on social media to advocate to have our elected officials stand up for the boundary waters. And I'll play you one of the ads that we ran to encourage elected officials to and people to support candidates that protect the boundary waters. So here's one of those ads.
Why are some politicians going out of their way to help foreign mining conglomerates open toxic copper-sulfide mines near the boundary waters? If opened, these two mines, PolyMet and Twin Metals would spew toxic acid mine drainage into Minnesota's treasured boundary waters and Lake Superior, contaminating some of the cleanest water in America. Why are some politicians so eager to give away our land and waters? Why are they more concerned with the stock portfolio of foreign billionaires than with the people of Minnesota? We need leaders who work for us, who stand up to the big polluters, who are brave enough to champion Minnesota and Minnesotans. This November, vote for Pro-Boundary Waters champions to defend our clean water and protect our boundary waters. To get involved, visit BWCA.PAC.org.
So, that shows the different strategies that we have there. So we have the legal strategies in the court. We have the legislative strategies, passing the Prove It First bill and supporting Betty McCollum's bill in Congress, and then we have the political strategy of electing candidates that are pro-boundary waters candidates, and then we have the public narrative, having citizens like yourself support protecting the boundary waters. So these are the 4 prongs of our advocacy strategy to stop sulfide mining. And I want to let you know that that there is a giving program for all Minnesota nonprofits that starts tomorrow here, May 1st here, and runs for 11 days here. It's called Spring Forward Minnesota, and we are a nonprofit, and we rely on individuals in your support. You can make a gift now by going to the website here, givemn.org/BWCA. So and your gift will be doubled. We have a matching gift, and so your support would be doubled here. So again, givemn.org/BWCA. You will truly make a difference to protecting the boundary waters in Lake Superior from copper sulfide mining.
Hey, Chris.
So, yes, yes.
Got a question here. Looks like we're kind of maybe at the end of the presentation, but someone's just wondering if Amy Klobuchar has ever given reasons why she will not fully support the Save the BWCA campaign, especially since Mondale was such a mentor.
Great question here, and it is one of the I'll kind of get out of my presentation here, Adon, here to answer that question. Sure. To do that there. It is hugely disappointing that Amy Klobuchar is not supportive of legislation to protect the boundary waters in Lake Superior. And I think the challenge that we have is supporters of clean water is to help Amy Klobuchar and Governor Walz understand that there's a political calculus that they're making. And the political calculus is that in order to win, that they need to have people in Northeast Minnesota combined with people in the Twin Cities metro area to come together in order to get that 50% plus one. And what perhaps they don't realize is that the political ground is shifted, and that certainly those swing districts in the suburban areas around the Twin Cities are pro clean water and are very, very opposed to Twin Metals and very, very opposed to PolyMet. And that in Northeast Minnesota, over 55% of the people there also oppose these mines. And so that really, it's your phone calls, your letters, and supporting legislation, Betty McCollum's bill, and supporting our efforts at the state level to help change Amy Klobuchar. And similarly, Tina Smith has also been lukewarm at best on this issue as well. I support the letter that she recently sent to the Biden administration to have a very important study completed on the impact of sulfide mining and release to the public. But she has not introduced a companion bill in the Senate to Betty McCollum's bill. So both Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar really need to step up to the plate. And Betty McCollum provides the model for leadership at the federal level that we need here in Minnesota.
Great. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Don't see any. I do want to mention that all these presentations are being recorded and are going to be linked on our YouTube page over at Midwest Mountaineering. I guess youtube.com/Midwest Mountaineering. Let's see here. We have quite a few more presentations today. Anyone out there have any other questions? Let's see here. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and drop some of your links into the chat box here, just so people can click to sort of a little call to action here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Let's see here. Okay. Well, unless there's any other questions, I don't see any. Thank you so much, Chris. I always really enjoy your presentations. It's obviously very regional, national topic. I think, more often than not, Minnesotans have been to the Boundary Waters or know about it or know someone that's been there, and almost everyone I've ever talked to has had nothing but great things to say about it. So I think it deserves to be protected and deserves to be acknowledged for what it is. And I really do hope some of these legislators and state representatives kind of step up here. If you're heading up to the Boundary Waters this year, definitely, with the influx of people heading up there, there's been a lot more pressure put on the system up there. I encourage people to be mindful of, leave no trace practices, sort of being good stewards of the Boundary Waters and just good outdoor skills. So if you're unsure about what that looks like, we'd love to help you. Here at the shop, we have a lot of staff that have been up there. So let us know how we can help you outfit you for your trip. And I'm sure any of the outfitters up in the Iron Range up there would love to help you get more comfortable with leaving no trace and helping protect in your own way, even on your own adventure, the Boundary Waters. So,
Well, Ladon, I want to thank you for everything that you do and what Midwest Mountaineering does, and I want to thank all the folks that are viewing this for their passion for the outdoors. On our website, we have paddling routes into the Boundary Waters on the Explore tab there, and so please. Take a look at that. We want to encourage that love and exploration and of the outdoors there, and do go to Midwest Mountaineering for those all the experts there that have the passion and can get you outfitted with the appropriate gear, and can also give you route suggestions as well. So
that's great. Chris, someone's asking. I don't know if you. I'll let you decide how you want to answer this, but someone's asking if you can give them the names of the politicians that are for mining so that they can vote against them.
Sure. Well, right now, I think there are still, as we discussed, problems with the stances of Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith and Governor Walz. We have on the right now all Republicans, unfortunately, are anti-clean water, which should not be the case. This is a bipartisan issue. So sadly, all Republicans are opposed to clean water here in Minnesota, and it just does not make any sense. And it's not part of traditionally clean water has been a bipartisan issue. The Democrats that are problematic. Tom Bach, the state senator for the northeastern part of the state, is a problem. So is Senator Dave Tomassoni, who takes more in the just south of there, more in kind of the just south of the kind of the Iron Range area, but kind of in the neck of the woods. So those two Democratic senators, or formerly Democratic senators, now more independent, are unfortunately anti-clean water here.
Yeah. They're wondering if there's let's see here, politicians that are for mining, specifically these two mines. Is there any versus like maybe less of a bigger sort of anti-clean water, but is there any politicians that are like strictly for these two mines right now that are really um lobbying for that, I guess?
Well, sure, certainly both Tom Bach and Dave Tomasoni are, and then the all Republican legislators are also fall into that into the bucket of being um, pro toxic copper sulfide mining and against clean water, and so that would be Paul Gazelka, who's the top Republican senator, so he's anti clean water, and the entire Republican delegation is fallen lockstep into it, and so it's part of and unfortunately part of that polarity of taking what is a bipartisan issue and taking an anti-clean water stance. So Paul Gazelka is the leading Republican senator. Kurt Dowd is the leader of Republicans in the Minnesota House. So they are anti-clean water. At the federal level, we have Congressman Pete Stauber from the Duluth area, and taking in Northeast Minnesota is also anti-clean water. Congressman Tom Emmer, who takes in the area kind of north of the Twin Cities there, he's strongly anti-clean water as well. So that's it's broken down that where all Republicans are against clean water at the federal and state level, and these select Democrats are also against clean water. And sadly, even ones that are not anti-clean water directly, we need the leadership of the DFL party to allow hearings on the Prove It First bill. And so that would include State Representative Melissa Hortman and State Representative Ryan Winkler. They need to know that have a hearing on the Prove It First bill that would allow these issues to be, publicly discussed. State Senator Jen McEwen from Duluth is a real champion on this issue. And so for those of you that are from Duluth or have family members up there, she is really a champion at the state level for this. And I must tell you, retired former Governor Arnie Carlson has been a huge champion on this issue as well. So Arnie Carlson has been carrying on that tradition of Walter Mondale, even though Arnie Carlson comes from the independent Republican branch of politics. So there's a lot of political support for us, but these leaders have not been doing that.
Great, thank you, Chris.
And I had my email and phone number up there. Please, I welcome phone calls and emails, and I will respond to those. And then if there are questions I should direct to other folks, I will do that. But we are truly grateful for all the support that we get from thousands of individuals across Minnesota, and again, you are we are an extension of you. We know that individuals are really the strength of this, and that it's our privilege to be able to help out in this regard. So thank you all for your questions, either by phone or by email. Please give me a call. My phone number is 651-999-9565. Again, 651-999-9565. And my email is Chris, that's CHRIS, at friends, that's with an S, friends with an S, hyphen BWCA.org. So Chris at friends-bwca.org. So I welcome questions or thoughts through phone calls or emails.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm certain that people will definitely reach out. And again, thank you for sharing your presentation and your perspective in this ongoing challenge and fight. With that being said, I don't see any other questions coming through. Seems like a good time to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Again, all these presentations are recorded, so if you missed any part of it, they'll be up on our YouTube page probably in a day or so, maybe even less. But stay tuned for quite a few more presentations today. Thank you, Chris. We'll sign off. Enjoy it. Maybe get outside and enjoy some of that sun. It's beautiful out
That's
there.
right.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye now.